Guys, Dana White has been cooking recently. As of last night, he announced some big fights for the UFC Saudi Arabia card that's going on in June this year, and I'm excited. I'm going to go through all of them. We're going to start with one of them that I think is going to be an absolute, there's going to be a KO, I think, between two Russian behemoths in Sergey Pavlovich and Alexander Volkov. This is crazy to me, like, in a good way of, like, I'm excited for this fight just because both of these guys have knockout power. Both of these guys are at the top of the division, which I know isn't saying much for the heavyweight division when there's mostly contender series fat guys, and then it's like the top five, maybe top 6, 7 if you want to get technical. But it's very thin division. But these guys are actual, like, legit top guys. Sergey Pavlovich, I know he's coming off a KO loss, but it's against a guy who many people are saying could beat John Jones. So can we really diss him for that loss of it? And yes, it was a quick KO, but that's a lot of how Tom Aspinall's fights go, unless he gets his knee blown out. But other than that, it had been just pure running through people, besides his first ever loss, which was against Overeem, which, that doesn't look too good, but I don't think Volkov is going to be submitting Pavlovich. But I am going to go with Pavlovich in this fight. I do think Volkov has a chance of winning this fight and will make this fight more competitive because in this circumstances, he is taller than Pavlovich. Pavlovich either fights guys around the same height as him or they're shorter than him. And that just means I don't see him getting, like, that jab cross KO that he just gets on a bunch of these people with his super freakishly long reach. Which I do think that is another thing that I think is, like, an equalizer in this fight, is his reach. He has such a fucking long reach, and it's absolutely crazy. And Volkov's good, and he is on a win streak here. I believe, 3-fight win streak. But then you kind of look at the guys that he's beating for it, where it's Romanov, who was coming off of a loss to Marcin Tybura. Not that impressive of a win there. Then it's Jairzinho Rosenstruik, who I think might have been on a 1-fight win streak. I never know with that guy. That's an okay win. He's coming off of a win right now against an absolute blob. So, not as impressive, but at least he's finishing these guys. And then he capped it off last year on the Adesanya Strickland card with I believe an Anaconda choke submission over Tai Tuivasa, which isn't looking too good recently. So 3-fight win streak. Was coming off what was it? It was Tom Aspinall. Yeah, he lost to Tom Aspinall. I forgot before that fight. And then he might have won a fight, or I don't remember if he had lost to Cyril Gane before that, or it was like a fight removed. But just not like the most impressive win streak, but he at least is getting some wins. But then you look at Pavlovich, who he did KO Derek Lewis, he KO'd Tai Tuivasa, Curtis Blades. That Curtis Blades one was brutal. And I just think his power, like, he's still super strong. He has taken good time off from that loss. And thank goodness it wasn't like a drawn out, like, 5-round, this guy's just getting absolutely hammered. He's getting dropped. He's hobbling around the area, and then he gets his, like, lights turned out. No, it's like, it was a quick KO, so I think he's had enough time to recover from this. And Volkov is getting a bit older. I know he's in his 30s. I don't know how old Volkov is, but anyways, I'm thinking we can at least see a second or third round KO from Pavlovich. That's my prediction. And then on to the next one we have Shara Magomedov versus Ihor Potera. It sounds like an interesting fight for, it's a return of Shara Magomedov, but I'm not too high on him really yet just because of how he performed against Bruno Silva, who, yes, Bruno Silva is a very good fighter and is like that guy that just is outside of the top 15 and has lost to some good guys, but is not really a grappler, and he's getting down Shara Magomedov with relative ease and made that a very close fight, which is not what you want to see. And Ihor Potera, who, I respect him for being game for, really any fight, but other than his last fight, his only other win in the UFC was Shogun Rua in his retirement match. And this dude is not a grappler by trade, so this is kind of just like a free win for him in my opinion. But next one we have Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. Interesting fight, super fun fight. I'm interested to see it just because D-Rod hasn't been too good recently. I think his last fight was last year against Ian Gary, top 10 guy, so not a horrible loss in hindsight, but lost to Neil Magny, so that you always got to remember that. And then Kelvin Gastelum has not really been good in his recent fights. His only win he's had recently was Chris Curtis at middleweight, decision. At welterweight, he's supposed to be the wrestler, the grappler guy, and he's getting held down, and he gets submitted by Sean Brady. I'm glad this is still at welterweight because I do think that Kelvin Gastelum should stay at welterweight, but honestly, this could go either way, so I haven't really decided yet. Interesting one up next, we have Johnny Walker versus Volkan Ozdemir. Now, if this was before the really stupid Magomed Ankalaev fight where, some idiots picked Johnny Walker to win that, yeah, who would do that? But no, in all seriousness, I can't pick Johnny Walker. I'm coming to the realization that he is not that good. And I'm putting this in comparison of, I don't know why I thought his 3-fight win streak was impressive, and I feel kind of stupid for that because it's Ion Cutelaba, who is terrible. It is Paul Craig, who isn't horrible, but very inconsistent, and that was a really bad fight for him, just his performance-wise. And then he beat Anthony Smith by a decision. He couldn't KO Anthony Smith, so I don't have hope, and his chin is gone. Volkan Ozdemir is patient. He's very defensive. He beat Paul Craig in a more decisive way of, a decision. There was no flukes in it. And he beat a random guy on, making his debut because of a short nose thing or something of that. But Volkan has enough power. He can crack. He's had to fight in the top 15, for all of his career. So he's accustomed to that. He has a better chin. I think more power in the sense of he can actually hurt Johnny Walker and KO him. So I'm going to go Volkan Ozdemir, second round KO. And we have the last one we're talking about. The main event of the UFC Saudi Arabia card, an exciting one, middleweight title eliminator, I believe, for who will be, or title challenge. So whoever wins this will be fighting it. It's between Khamzat Chimaev, who I think everyone's been wanting to see return, and then Robert Whittaker, fan favorite, one of my favorite fighters, one of my favorite personalities above all else. This is an interesting one. Robert Whittaker most recently fought Paulo Costa, won a decision against him. That was a good fight. I enjoyed that fight. It did show Robert Whittaker is still pretty chinny, but, he survived a Paulo Costa spinning wheel kick to the chin in the last parts of round 1. But that fight was a very close one, and it still does show that Robert Whittaker is still kind of a chinny guy. But then we can't talk about that and talk about that last performance and then try to ignore Khamzat Chimaev's last performance against Kamaru Usman, which was at middleweight on a week's notice for Kamaru Usman. And Khamzat Chimaev gassed. He gassed horribly. He gassed terribly. Maybe one of the worst adrenaline dumps or just cardio dumps. He dumped it all into that first round. And if he did not get a 10-8, where honestly you could argue that wasn't even a 10-8 round, because we've seen guys get dropped twice in one round, and it's still a 10-9. They might even lose that round just because judging is so terrible. So he's honestly lucky they got the 10-8 and then squeaked by round 2 and 3, because that was all Kamaru Usman, honestly. The best he could have asked for in that fight was a draw after that, and it was Kamaru Usman going up a weight class, old man, bad knees, just not his weight class, and I don't know. And then I did see the thing where Khamzat Chimaev was horribly sick. I saw the pictures of that, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to use that as the excuse yet for that, because I'm going as good as his last performances. And if we go to the one before that, obviously a really good performance against Kevin Holland. Missed weight by 8 pounds. A day notice for Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland not doing too good right now. He just lost to MVP. Kind of throws away a lot of fights that he has a good chance of winning them just I don't know, just so he can, like, save face or something. I don't know. And then, obviously, the Gilbert Burns win. That was a good win. I do think he won that fight. I think it's just a lot of, like, Khamzat Chimaev haters that are picking Gilbert Burns to have won that fight. But this is an interesting fight because I'm under, like, this impression of, okay, well, can Khamzat Chimaev in a 5-rounder, can he even survive 5 rounds? Because the most we see him go is 3 rounds. He did good against Gilbert Burns when it came to gas tank, but he gassed horribly against Kamaru Usman, and I think he will maybe have a better gas tank hopefully in this fight. He's got some time to prepare for that. He's at middleweight now. He's pretty accustomed to it hopefully now. And he knows that Robert Whittaker is a pretty dangerous guy to be fighting, especially if you gas out against him. He will use you as a punching bag, and just make sure that you walk out there like just a piece of you gets left in that cage there. You might not get KO'd, you might not get TKO'd, but man, is it gonna hurt. That's how I get from it. And then I was gonna talk about the Robert Whittaker, his takedown defense, which he does have good takedown defense. But then you gotta look at his fight with Dricus du Plessis, where he gets head and arm throwed, which I haven't seen that work in men's MMA in so long, so that's not a good sign. And then we're talking about he's got really good takedown defense. Against who? That's another thing that we got to talk about, is his takedown defense is, like, against who? The best person you can say on there is, like, Yoel Romero or Derek Brunson. And if you are claiming to have amazing takedown defense and a person on your resume that is one of the first ones you name is Derek Brunson, maybe don't talk about it. And then Yoel Romero, yes, Olympic wrestler, never uses it properly in MMA. He uses it defensively to stay on the feet because, I don't know, CTE? Like, I don't know, like, this just, he's like, yes, he has good takedown defense. Like, he has very good hip strength. You're not going to take him down easy. He's not like Shar Magomedov getting taken down easy. But he's not like Jose Aldo stuffing every single takedown by freaking Merab Dvalishvili, which that is an insane stat on its own, but it gets even crazier considering what Merab has done since winning that fight against Jose Aldo, where, yeah, it's just interesting. And I think Khamzat Chimaev has the strength and takedowns to get him down there. But it's if he can actually submit him, if he can TKO him, if he has enough power in there, because he just has not been impressive, and a lot of his aura has gone away. And I think Robert Whittaker's looking at this like, this is a winnable fight. I can win this fight. Because if he shows up, if the one that fought Kamaru Usman shows up, I'm picking Robert Whittaker. If a more level-headed one who, uses his takedown, gets him down there, and then is able to, I don't know, not go like a madman, and maybe, because then there's the other thing of Khamzat's never gone 5 rounds, and he's never gone 3 rounds, like, very technically based enough of like, oh, we're point fighting, because he's going in because he wants to take your head off, or he wants the finish. So I can't see him point fighting or playing it safe. So we technically have to see that first and second round trying to, like, blitz, which is an issue because it doesn't always work on Robert Whittaker. Like, it's very possible. Israel Adesanya did that to him in the second fight. What was it? Dricus du Plessis TKO'd him or KO'd him in the second round of their fight, and even took him down there. So it's possible. Obviously, you can go further back, but that's at welterweight, which wasn't his weight class. That's so far removed that I don't really want to count that, but you get the idea. So this is an interesting fight with so much that can happen for right now, and this is very much subject to change because I gotta think about it. I really gotta look into it. I'm going Robert Whittaker right now just because, well, yes, he's kind of chinny. He isn't, I don't know, he doesn't have, like, a Matt Schnell chin where it's any, like, gust of wind is going to fold him. But he's not immune to it. I'd say he's got a very similar chain to, like, Volkanovski, where, yeah, both of those guys are chinny, but they're not, like, they don't got, like, a glass jaw or anything. But that's kind of, this card is looking stacked, honestly. Like, I'm actually kind of hyped for this. Like, Dana's cooking right now, and I hope he doesn't stop, is all I can say. But that's about it. I mean, we went crazy on this video right now, just distance. There was so much I want to talk about. I didn't want to leave out the fights. I kind of sped through a couple of them, but I talked about the major ones on there. I think this will be a really good card, some good fights. Let's hope it can deliver. Add a couple more fights, add some more prospects around that area there. You can get some interesting fights, in my opinion. You could get Muhammad Makayev on this card. That doesn't sound too good, but I mean, you can at least just get some name value in there. I don't know who you would put him against there. Loser of, what is it? Mateus Nicolau and Manel Kopp. I think that would be Mateus Nicolau. I think that would be a good fight. As long as Mateus Nicolau doesn't take a lot of damage, I think that'll be a good fight to add to it. But that's about it for today. Bye.